Hi, Crafty Patti here. I had some thought on macrame hangings that are generally all one color. So I did have a subscriber comment on that. And so I thought, well, let's make one with more than one color. So I'm going to use this Bernat Handicraft cotton, and it's a really thick yarn. So this is going to work out really nicely on a macrame wall hanging. And I'll be adding the beads that I've made in a previous video, and if you want to know how to make these, I will leave a link in the description below. So I think that my finished wall hanging will be approximately 1 meter long. And being that this is a rather thick cord, it will use up more length. So I'm going to actually times this by 7 meters because I'm also going to be working a lot of knots in my design. I'm going to be adding all my cords with a lark's head knot. When you finish cutting your cords to 7 meters, find the end of your cord, work along until you've got the other end of your cord. Here's my 2 ends. Now go back and find the other end, and here's the end of my loop going over the driftwood and behind. Opening up the hole, put the cords inside the hole and pull those cords through and cinch it up. And here's your order of your placement for your yarn to go on your driftwood. Each section has 4 each. Your second knot to learn will be a square knot, which is going to be worked with 4 cords. You're going to use your 2 middle cords to be your base. The first thing you do is take your left cord, bring it over to those 2 middle cords, hold with your thumb, bring your right over that cord to the back, hold with your right, and then bring that cord through to the left. That's the first part of your square knot. Now we started on the left, now we're going to start on the right. Bring your right cord over your 2 middle cords, hold with your thumb, bring your left over that cord, through to the back, hold, and pull that through. You have now completed 1 square knot. So we'll do that one more time. Left over, hold, right over, behind, through the hold, pull it through, and tighten. You started on the left, now start on the right, right over, hold, left over, through to the back, hold with your left thumb, and pull that through. You now have 2 square knots. Go to your next section and form 2 more square knots again. Now continue that pattern across your whole row. So here's your blue, which is your middle of your macrame. And what we're going to be doing now is start to alternate. So now we're going to learn your next knot. So we're going to take the very 4 middle cords. Again, there's your 2 middle base cords. And again, we're going to do square knots. And we're going to do 2 square knots here. So there's your completed 2 square knots. Now we're going to divide that in half. We're going to use these 2 and the next 2. Now form 2 more square knots. Now on this side, there's your 2 and your next 2 and 2 more square knots. And we're going to split again. There's your last one on the left, split in half, these 2 left, and grab the next 2 and form 2 more square knots. These 2 and the next 2 on the right, and 2 more square knots. And one more time. So we've done the 2 square knots 4 times. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here's our 2 blues. We're going to do the same thing with these 2 blues and these 2 blues. So copy this pattern on the left and the right. So you're going to start with your 4 middle cords like we did here and continue that pattern. Now we're going to continue doing our knots until there's no cords left in the here, over here, in between here, and over here. So you can continue to do your alternating by the 2 and grab the next 2 and keep going. So altogether you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So continue on all your other sections. So we have our 6 square knots coming down for each of our half triangles. And now what we're going to do is join these 2 sections together. And just a tip, because you've got a lot of cord or yarn, whatever you're working with, what I do is when I'm ready to work my next 4 sections, I just bring them up and make sure they're not tangled in the end of the pile. Just save you a little bit of less frustration. So now let's go and finish this one off with 2 square knots. And when you're working with your different colored yarn, the one thing you'll have to make sure you do is the white is on this side. Make sure your white stays on that side and the gray is on that side to complete your knot. And the same over here. Same on the end here, so you're just going to be taking these 2 and the next 2 And 2 more square knots. Take your last 2, pick up 2 whites. Generally, most of our knots are done with 4 cords, but I'm going to show you one with just 2 cords. I call this the vertical lark's head. It looks similar to this, but we're going to do it going down. This is going to be your base cord, and this will be the cord that's going to go over the base cord. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a loop over top, hold it with your thumb, and pull that through the hole. And now bring that up to the top. Now that one we went over. This time we're going to go under and through. And bring that up. And I'll continue those until we're lined up with the last square knot we did on this section. So I ended up doing 17 to get that to match up. But if you're making 16 or 18, it doesn't matter. And seeing as I made 17 on this side, I just made sure I made 17 on that side just to keep it consistent. I'm going to do a spiral square knot. So there's our 4 cords. I'm going to start on the left and make, guess what? Another square knot. But this time we're going to keep it all on the left. We're not going to change back to going to the right now. Do them all on the left. This will automatically make your square knots turn into a spiral. So on the left. I know you might be habit formed now with making yourself go left and right, but just keep them all going left and you'll get your spiral. And as you can see, it's already starting to twist. So what you can do now is just twist it right around. It won't ruin the design, but just keep going on the left and keep going till we're down to the bottom and matched up with that square knot on the bottom. And here's my 4 cords on the right, and this time I'm going to start on my right. So here's my square knot, so we're going to start on the right. Another right. Now we're going to come back in and we're going to fill in our half triangles. So take your 4 middle cords and we're back to our square knots. And we're going to do 2 each time. Now we're going to split that 2 and grab the next 2 and make another square knot. And the next 2 with the next 2. And back to the middle. And then these 2 and these 2. And over to this side. These 2 and these 2. And here's the last 4 for this section. Okay, now we're going to do another knot, and this time it's called double half hitches. We're going to take our very last strand or piece of yarn from the far left here, and we're going to bring that across, and we're just going to anchor it over the driftwood just to make it easier for you to do your knots. So here's your base cord, and now your second cord here is the one we're going to bring up and over. So we're just going to bring it up, form a U, bring it through that hole, and pull it through. And then let that come up and form a circle around the base cord. Now you're going to come up and do that one more time. Now you're going to take your next cord and do the same thing. Forming the U, go behind, pull it through, and your third cord again, over and through. And once more. So what we're trying to get is a nice straight line going across the bottom of our pattern. While you're working along with your double half hitches, make sure that when you're working with your 4 cords, that these 4 cords are lining up to above. You don't want them forming your knots far along. If they're starting to do that, just grab your double half hitches and give them a little pull so you keep them lined up. And we're on our last 2. And there you've got your completed row of double half hitches all the way across. And you should be seeing all your colors in the same order, just like it was on the very top. So your whites here should be the whites here, and it should be matching all the way along. Now we're going to have some fun with some bigger spirals. We made the spirals up above with 4 cords, and now we're going to use 4, 8. We're going to leave 4 cords in the middle for our base cords, and we're going to use these cords to make our spiral. We're going to start on the left, same as before, over, behind, and through. And same as above, we're going to stay on the left. Don't go to the right, stay on the left. And I'm going to make this section about the same size as this section, so you can just use your fingers and just judge. I'll just do a few more. If you need to count how many that you've done, so you can repeat that, because we're going to be making that on this section and this section, just unravel it and you can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where it's your choice to find out how much you want it to spiral. You can spiral a lot, or just a little tiny bit, or medium. So decide what you like, and then when you decide what you want, make sure that all your spirals are the same. Now I'm going to go back to only 4 cords and do more spirals. This time I'm going to drop it down about 2 inches and start my spiral. So I just counted these ones for you, and I did actually do 28, but whatever again matches up, so you've got it level with your other larger square knot in the middle. So now continue to do the same on the side of the blue, and then 4 for this side, 4 for this side, and the same for over here. Now we're going to do these gray sections, and again drop them down another 2 inches, and it'll just be a small spiral down to here on both sides. And I end up doing 18, which got me down to be level with my other ones, so I'll do 18 spirals on the side as well. And now we're going to do more spirals. We're going to take this white section, match it up with this one, and that will be a shorter spiral. So we're going to do that here, 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 and over here. For most of my macrame hangings, I kind of sort of have a bit of a plan in my mind, but I do design as I go. And if you're designing as you go, you have to watch your cord lengths. We're going to be making 2 more larger spirals. The reason I'm doing that is because, again, we brought that 1 cord over. So now you might have noticed, but we have 1 extra cord on this side, and we have 1 less cord on this side. So what I want you to do is I want you to find your longest cords. So mine are these 2 on the left, and I'm going to take these 2 from the middle. These are my longer cords, because when you're working back and forth, this uses up a lot of cord length. So now what you're going to do is you're going to tuck your longer ones to the back, bring all your shorter ones to the middle. Now these are all our base cords, these are our working cords. So we're going to go again, we're going to make a large spiral. Bring those right in, and only we will know that you tuck those shorter ends on the inside. And the same on this side. I've gone through to see if I've got any shorter cords, because I want to make sure those are in the middle so they're not using up as much yardage. We'll only have 3 cords in the middle, and I want that's my base cords, and these are my working cords. So again, we're going to go over and through to do our spiral again. And just on that first knot, you're just tucking it up, pulling on the cords if you need to. And now we're going to come back and make our double half hitches coming this way. On the end here, if you've got one strand that's a little bit longer than others, you're okay to use your longer one. This one is my longer one. It could obviously be in here, but I'm going to make it my base cord. I'm going to take my first cord, like before, we're going to make a U, and then bring that cord through the U. Let it roll around your base cord, form your next U, and pull that through. That's your first one. When you go to do your next section, just make sure that your cords up here aren't twisted around. Make sure they're nice and straight. Once you've got your placement, then grab your next cord or yarn, make a U, and we'll start on the next color. I'm just going to pull it up so it's right sitting underneath that last knot. All right, so work your way all the way across, and we'll see you when we get to the other side. Our row of double hitches is completed, and now we're going to do a row of single square knots. And you've now finished one row of single square knots. You're now going to come in and we're going to start alternating. Come into your middle blues and grab your 4 middles, and now we're going to alternate across, and you'll have 2 strands left over on each side. And here you have the 2 cords not worked on this side and the 2 cords not worked on this side. You're going to continue like that, alternating pattern, and we're going to be forming a V. So again, go back into your middle and then grab 4 strands again, and then continue out, and now you'll have 4 strands left on the ends. And the same on this side. There's my 4 cords. This will be the last 4 I do for this row. Doesn't matter really where you start in your row, as long as you're alternating So for instance, if you started here, you can see that your 2 knots are here. So you're going to pick up these 4 and form your knot here. And I'm going to do another square knot in here. And just a reminder is to not to have your colors mixed up. So this blue has got to stay with the blue and the gray stay with the gray section. Otherwise, you're going to have the pattern change on you. So keep your blues together and your grays together when you're making your next knots, just to watch out for that. If you're finding it confusing on where to start your next knot, then you can always try to work on your ends. You can see your angle coming down. Here's your last row. Here's your last knot. So you're going to leave 2 behind and pick up the next 4. And that's where you start your knot. And see if that helps you. And when you get to this end, this would be your last knot. You can see that this is the row here. There's your last row. So you're not going to use those 2, obviously, because that was in the previous row. So now if you want to come back again, we're going to look for your next 2 knots. So here's your next 2 here. So we're going to put these 4 together and then work back the other way again. And there's your full V completed. You will have some extra strands left over, but I have another project coming up in another macrame, and I'll show you how we can use all these extra strands up. So I'm going to add some beads now, and the ends might be unraveled. So I'm going to just use a piece of Scotch tape, and we're just going to roll the Scotch tape up into a little bit of a point, and then you've got a threading point to put into your hole of your bead. Now I've got a nice sharp point. I'm going to do a random knot, just a basic knot, wherever it lies will be where it will be, and then we'll thread on one of my beads that I made in my previous video, and then we're just going to another knot on the bottom of that bead to hold it in place. And there we've added our first bead. And I'm just going to do random ones here and there. I have all my beads on now, and some of the strands I did not put a bead on, so I'm just going to unravel those by dividing them in half and just unwind them and divide it up again. Now we're going to use up some of all those scraps that we cut off the end. So find some of your shorter scraps and then fold them in half. And we're going to tuck them between the 2 white and bring them through to the hole on the bottom here. Just give them a tug so they're all straight. Bring your cords inside, just like we did the lark's head. And now pull the cords through. And then tighten each one of them. So you've got a nice formed knot. And I've cut these ones shorter. I'm going to cut these ones a little bit longer. So I'll make another one for this white and cut it at the same length as this one. And I'm going to do 2 grays and make those slightly longer as well. And I'm going to do another tassel up here, and we're going to work it between these two square knots and up through here. So this time we need to poke the strands through here and up through the top. Leave your loop down there, and the other side through the hole and up through the top. And there's your loop. Just give it a tug to straighten all the strands together, and then bring them through the hole and cinch them up. And just pull down on all your cords till they're nice and even. And then I've got my two strands here. I'm going to cut it maybe so it's sitting about in the middle of those, because you want to still see some of the design in the back. Find 3 longer pieces from your scraps that you've cut off the end of your hanging, and we're going to just bring them around the end, and we'll just tie 1 knot and then another knot. Now what we're going to do is do some braiding. And I'm sure you remember how to do braiding, but we'll go through the basics. Base cord, and we're just going to keep wrapping around, in and in and in, over and over, over and over, and keep going till we have enough for our hanger. So I've done my braiding from here to here, just longer than the piece of driftwood. And now I can come in and I can tie it on this end. So again, just 2 knots. And I'm going to come right up to the end of my braiding. And 1 more knot. And we'll cut off our ends and unravel those. And I'm just loving how all those colors work so well together. Right from our first triangles down to our spirals, our tassels, and the bottom V formation, and all those beautiful beads and the unraveling right down at the bottom. Love it.